So 8.2 part 1, multiplying polynomials. By the end of today's lessons, you should be able to multiply polynomials and monomials. You should be able to multiply binomials, and you should be able to use properties of exponents to multiply them. In order to multiply monomials like 6z squared by polynomials like 7x squared plus 3x minus 27, we need to apply a distributive property. So we're going to distribute the 6z squared to all of these three terms. So we would get 6z squared times 7z squared plus 6z squared times 3z minus 6z squared times 2. So then we're going to multiply the numbers with the numbers to get 42. And we're going to use the properties of exponents, as if you're doing this with the z's. Remember, you add the exponents, so you end up with z to the fourth. That's where z to the fourth here comes from. And we're going to do the same thing to the second term. 6 times 3 is 18. And then z, 2 plus the 1 is going to be 3. Minus 6 times 2 is 12. And then z squared, because there's no other z. This will be your final answer for this one. So for this one, we're going to distribute the negative n squared to all of these terms. So we're going to get negative n squared times n squared plus negative n squared times 5n plus negative n squared times 6. So we're going to get for this first one, using the exponent rule, negative n to the fourth. For this one, we're going to get negative 5n cubed. And for this last one, we're going to get negative 6n squared. This being your final answer. So for this one, the same idea as we were doing before. We multiply these, so we're going to get 6pq times 2p, and then minus q times 6pq. Notice that in this first one, we have 2p's, and in the second, we have 2q's. So those are going to end up being squared because we add the exponents. So for this first term, we're going to do 6 times the 2 to get 12. The p's, because we have 2, is going to be p squared q. And then we're going to get minus 6p q squared, because again, we have 2 q's. This would be your final answer. So for this first one, I multiply the 6 and the 3 to get 18. And since the x's are the same base, I can just go ahead and add the 3 and the 2 to get 18x to the 5th. For this second one, I can multiply the 5 and the 2 to get 10. Now, there's only one r, so it's going to stay as r squared. And then for t, we're going to add the 3 plus the 1 to get t to the 4th. So these are our final answers for both of these. Now, to multiply a binomial by a binomial, you can apply the distributive property more than once. So we can do the distributive property for the x, and then the distributive property for the 3. Now, when I do that, I'm going to get x times x plus 2 times x plus, and then that would be when we distribute the 3. So it would be 3 times x plus 3 times 2. We end up with x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. We're going to combine these two because we have the same base. So we can do x squared plus 5x plus 6. This is called FOIL. FOIL is an acronym. We'll see it in the next slide. So the FOIL method, which is what I just showed you, is another method for multiplying binomials. And again, it's called FOIL. The F stands for first, the O stands for outer, the I stands for inner, and L stands for last. What does this mean? That you're going to multiply the first term times the first term, then the first times the outer term, and then the inner with the inner, and then the inner with the last. So just like before, distributing the first to the first term, the first to the second, and then from the second to the first term, and the second to the second term. That's always going to be the case. It's just some people need to memorize first, outer, inner, last, and some people just memorize the motion of distributing. Either way, it's fine. You're going to get the same answer. It's up to you which one you use. I don't have a preference if you'd rather remember it as a distributed property or if you would rather remember as the acronym of FOIL. This is the same problem that we had before. So let's do this one together. We're going to grab this s. We're going to multiply it times the first s to get s squared. S squared. Then I'm going to multiply that s with the -2, so I'm going to get -2s. Now I'm going to multiply the 4 and the s to get positive 4s. I'm going to multiply the 4 and the -2 to get -8. Now I can combine these two because we have the same base. So I get s squared plus 2s minus 8, and that is your final answer. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this a times the a to give me a squared, the a times the -4 to get -4a, the 3 times the a to get a 3a, and the 3 times the 4 to get a -12. Again, I can combine these two terms, so I'm going to get a squared minus a minus 12 as our final answer. Now for this one, we only have one parenthesis, but this square means there's two of them. So I can rewrite this equation like this, and I'm able to FOIL or distribute, whichever you prefer. So I'll go ahead and multiply the x times the x to get x squared, the x times the -4 to get minus 4x, the x minus -4 to get minus 4x, and then the 4 times the 4 to get positive 16. Can combine these two to get x squared minus 8x plus 16, and this is our final answer for this problem. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the 2a times the a to get 2a squared. I'm going to multiply again times the second, so it's going to be plus 8ab squared. Again, since we only have one a and we only have b's, we can't really add them together. That's why we have two of them. I'm going to go ahead and multiply those two to get minus ab squared, and then multiply these to get -4b cubed. Now notice how we have an a b squared. Again, a b squared. So because they are the same, I can actually go ahead and combine that 8 with that negative ab squared. So I'm going to get 2a squared plus 7ab squared minus 4b cubed. That would be your final answer. If I forget, you guys do have homework. It's on Canvas, but that's it for today's notes.